Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwaraha. Guru Deva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike. Sharanitrambake Devi Narayani Namostute. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita. Namaste Se, Namaste Se, Namaste Se, Namo Namaha. Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundaye Viche Om Glom Hum Klim Jum Saha. Jwalaya Jwalaya Jwala Jwala Prajvala Prajvala Aim Rim Klim Chamundaye Viche Jwala Ham Sam Lam Ksham Phat Swaha. Om Durge Durge Rakshini Tha Tha Swaha. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Shri Hanuman Ji Maharaj Ki Jai. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 13th of October 2025. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Bhagavan residing in the heart of every single being. We're continuing to examine Brahmacharya, the glory of Brahmacharya, in relation to Prema Bhakti, Prem Lakshana Bhakti, and also in relation to the Jivan Mukta Sthiti. Please be clear about these points. Jivan Mukta Sthiti means living liberation. Jivan means living. We're living right now. But to be completely liberated from the pangs of limitations, from the pangs of Maya, from the deficiencies of the doshas that are created, to be liberated from that and to live in this body, with this body, to do seva, to do bhakti, to perform our regular activity in a completely liberated state, that is called Jivan Mukta Sthiti. The word Sthiti means state of realization, not just stage. We can say stage, it is a stage, but it is a state, S-T-A-T-E, state, an abiding state, not just a state. So the word Sthiti means abiding, uninterrupted, continuous state that does not fall back. Jivan Mukta Nisthiti, Jivan Mukta Ki Sthiti. This is the goal. Now the question is how to reach this point, and many aspects are needed. Of course, Prema Bhakti and Jivan Mukta Sthiti are together. They are the same thing in one sense. It is love and liberation at the same time. Pure love, undisturbed love, undiluted love, non-directional love, that is called Jivan Mukta, that is called Prema Lakshana Bhakti, 10th Bhakti. Right now, to approach that, we are looking at Ashtang Yoga, and in the Ashtang Yoga, we've been looking at the first limb, that is called Yama, that has 5 components, and one of those components is Brahmacharya. So that's the one we're looking at in some detail, just to cover it to a certain extent. I mean, these are obviously, subjects that you can get PhDs in, obviously, and still it would not be enough, right? But we don't need to do that. What we need to do is to find out from here what we can take in our lives, understand it better, make our lives better, share this information with others, and do seva. That's all. So yesterday we were talking about this Urdhvareta Naishtik Brahmacharya. So I want to make sure that is very clear. Swami Vivekananda Ji is a prime example of this type of Brahmacharya. He had sublimated his Kundalini Shakti, the sex energy, into the state of yogic transformation. So he had made his mind extremely powerful because of the sex energy sublimation. That is called Urdhva. Urdhva meaning to turn the sexual drive away from bhog into yoga. Yes, that is a turning. It is a changing the direction. Urdhva means turning it upward. Why? Why to do this? Well, because that is a great discovery of the rishis from the Upanishadic times, that if Shakti is turned upward for higher purposes and away from the ego-driven bhog, then that is going to produce great deal of psychological strength, and it will open the capacities of the brain and the mind. Yes. This is a great discovery from thousands of years back. And in the Sanatan Dharma, yogis, bhaktas, individuals who have taken this path, and if they are successful, they can do amazing things for this sansar, for the world. They are a great blessing to the world. They use that Shakti for bhakti and seva, as we mentioned before. They don't use it for anything else. In fact, it is not that they are using it. It is the divine will, divya ichha, bhagvat ichha. भगवान की इच्छा से वो शक्ति इस प्रकार के इसका उपयोग होता है. It is never used for any ego activity. It is never used to ever damage anybody. It is never used in any other way to pursue just siddhis and all those kinds of things. No, those are left aside. They may be available. There are powers, special powers for higher level yogis that may develop. That do develop, but they leave them all aside. Sometimes they are used by the divine will. That's all. But to run after spiritual powers is another form of maya. So sometimes people try to have this urdhvareta brahmacharya because they want spiritual siddhis. It's another form of ego. Nahi, bilkul nahi. मुक्तानंद स्वामी कहते हैं, भगवान स्वामीनारायण के बहुत बड़े संत हो गए. अष्ट सिद्धि नवनीधिते निर्माल्य त्यागी रे. इसको त्याग, इसको छोड़ देना. वो आ जाए अष्ट सिद्धि, 8 kinds of spiritual powers, major powers, 8 minor powers are there also. बहुत अनंत प्रकार की सिद्धि है. ये सब माया का, it's under the realm of maya. The yogi or the highest level bhakta who gets this, if it comes, it is left as a gift of God, but it is left on the side. It is not used by the individual. It is used only by the divine will if that is necessary at that time. ऐसी बात है ये. So that's another thing to keep in mind in this. But it's a great path. It's a different path. Please don't confuse these paths. The path of a householder, the path of a person engaged in the sansaric life, in the worldly life, with a partner and in all that. Even in that brahmacharya is there. Even in that brahmacharya. Because life is not just for bhog. Bhog uses energy. We know that, right? Bhog always uses energy, and that energy, that Shakti, is the most precious wealth we have. So it's amazing. It's amazing. So we talked about this a bit before. I'll talk a little bit more about it today. And then I do want to get into the Tantra path on Brahmacharya, which is written in the Shiv Sutras by Bhagwan Shankar. In the 114 or 112, I guess it's 112 techniques called Shiv Sutra or Vignan Bhairav Tantra. What that is all about. What is the Tantra path for people with strong vasanas? What is the path for them? So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Let's save that for tomorrow, because I want to cover a little bit more about Urdhvareta Brahmacharya today. So first of all, for Vivekananda Swami, as an example, Brahmacharya was not a narrow moral rule, but the scientific conservation of biopsychic energy. Scientific conservation of biopsychic energy. So is there a biological process? Obviously. In the male body, in the female body, there is the sexual response cycle, the way the chemicals move, the way the Shakti energy moves through the nerves, through the various channels in the body, and then the whole process goes on that way. Yes. So this is a yogic process. Urdhvareta Brahmacharya, Nashtik. Nashtik means like complete Brahmacharya. And that Shakti is given in seva towards Narayana, towards Bhagwan Narayan. Right? This is the idea here. So, scientific conservation of meaning biological and psychological energy. Vivekananda Swami equated the loss of Shukra Shakti, which is the vital reproductive energy, with the dissipation of prana, life force, asserting that the same energy which produces offspring can, when conserved and sublimated, manifest as genius, courage, and spiritual illumination. Same Shakti, इसका एक अलग स्वरूप आ जाता है. That is for genius. One can be a master in various areas, in arts and music and dance and spirituality and philosophy and in so many things. One gets a lot of how can we say expertise. And this is why in the first 25 years of life, under the guidance of Guru, under the guidance of Gurukul system that used to be there, it's still there a little bit here and there. People go to different temples and all that now. But children are to be brought up in satsang. Why? For good values, family unity, and their buddhi is going in the direction of gaining knowledge, gaining wisdom, because there is a time to gain knowledge and wisdom and understanding about the subjects in the schools, etc., in the universities, with good values. And it is not a time to watch pornography. 12-year-olds are watching pornography. It's all available for free on this. All you need is a phone or any kind of a computer device. It's सब free हो गया है. And this pornography is causing great damage in the minds of these 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. उनकी जो शक्ति है उसका नाश कर देते हैं. So this is a big problem in this world today. What to do with this? Because you get addicted to that from childhood. Then start having affairs with girls. Girls have affairs with boys. Buddhi nashat. Buddhi ka nash hota hai. Sharirik nash, AIDS, HIV disease, emotional problems. And this energy that needs to go for studies is not there. This is a very serious problem in the sansara today. And once this begins at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, once it begins there, without the proper guidance and proper sadhana and all those kinds of things that are needed, Namah Shivaya mantra, Gayatri mantra, the 3 times to do the Gayatri mantra, इसमें से ये सब शक्ति का balance होता है. By not doing this Vedic dharma, this is a destruction of humanity. Vedic dharma, Vedic process, the Gayatri mantra process, the Trikal Vandan in the morning, in the 12 o'clock noon, and in the evening, with the Gayatri mantra, with the Argya that is offered to the Surya Narayan. All the children need to be taught to do this. Everyone needs to do this. Om Bhurbhavasvaha Om Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. This Gayatri mantra. भगवान की भक्ति, घर में सेवा का वातावरण, घर में सुंदर मंदिर होना चाहिए. माता पिता, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स की, सब दादा दादी एक्सेट्रा, सबकी सेवा. Children need to be in seva modality. They need to be aware of what is going on. They need to have parents and others need to have conversations with their kids about pornography, about this sexual process, because they're maturing sexually. What to do with that? How to deal with that? Because that vasana in youth is intense. It is placed by God for procreation. It has to be managed properly. And then enter into grahasthashram with the proper way. That is fantastic. Because attractions are natural. Not everybody is going to become Vivekananda Swami. Hardly anybody will. Not everybody will become Swami Ram Tirth or Premanand Swami, Muktanand Swami, Gunatitanand Swami. It's baat alag baat hai. Most people are going to drown inside the sansar. Bhavasambhava bhiti bhedanam sukhasampata karuna niketanam vratadana tapakriya phalam sahajananda gurum bhaje sada. It is people are drowning. Humanity drowns in the sex. Sex becomes a drowning. कोई ज्ञान नहीं है, कोई डिस्कशन नहीं है, ऐसे ही सब सीक्रेट में सब चलता है. अभी क्या बोले इसके बाद. और इसका कोई अंत नहीं आता. The vasanas increase because once that pleasure is tasted, and it's going to be tasted, it is so special in its qualitative nature. That pleasure of sex, the pleasure of the bhog, इसको भोग कहते हैं. I don't mean to be graphic or anything, but we have to talk about it. Otherwise, there's no way to understand Brahmacharya. और इसका महिमा क्या है. But that Ichha meaning desire for that experience. That experience is compelling, all-encompassing. It overtakes the mind, the brain. You cannot think anything else. Think about how powerful it is. ये भगवान की शक्ति है. It's not a small thing. It is the creative force that runs the entire sansar. You think it's a small thing? It's massive शक्ति है ये. अलौकिक शक्ति है. दिव्य शक्ति है. भगवान की शक्ति है. And that is the Mahamaya. Mahamaya की शक्ति है. It's not a small thing, folks. The sex energy is the main energy, if not the energy, to be transmuted into bhakti. मैं आपको बताऊंगा. If you want, come to my place sometime. Sit for 4 or 5 hours. We'll set up a time. मैं आपको बताऊंगा कितने शास्त्र है घर में on this point. वेदरस में लिखा है. स्वामी विवेकानंद जी ने बहुत लिखा है on this point. शंकराचार्य जी ने कितना लिखा है. These were all brahmacharis. अखंड ब्रह्मचारीज. बहुत ऐसे अद्भुत संत हो गए. And when a person realizes that they want to take this path, my God, to start walking such a path, at some point, even in Grahasthashram, at some point, one has to say, enough. Abhi, husband, wife are spiritual sadhakas. भगवान शंकर के आगे बैठना, भगवान कृष्ण के आगे बैठना, भगवान स्वामी नारायण के आगे बैठना, रामकृष्ण परमहंस जी के आगे बैठना, अथवा सिख ट्रेडिशन में तो गुरुद्वारा में जाना. Let the shabads come through you. It's fine. सब सत्य एक ही है. क्रिश्चियन में है तो जीसस के आगे बैठना, कोई बात नहीं. He has taught the same thing. The teaching is not different from anybody. And the truth is not different. Truth is only one. Ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti. How the truth can be different? Satyam is only one. You can give it any name you want. Approach it any which way you want. Thousands of ways, thousands of descriptions, thousands of approaches, languages, methods, gurus, this, that. Satya एक ही तत्व है. And that is वो अनुभव का प्रश्न है. It's not a matter of just quoting scriptures and reading material. No. जीवन मुक्त की स्थिति क्या है कि ये हमारा जीवन का अलौकिक अनुभव हो सकता है. किसकी तैयारी है? राग, द्वेष, अहम, ममत्व, क्लेश, ये सब छोड़ देना चाहिए. In the spiritual path, we find this all the time. We find people, they're individuals, and I don't want to give any names or any organizations. We love them all. They are so interested in bashing others. It's incredible. I mean, it's throughout the world. All of these spiritual or so-called spiritual religious groups, they are great in their own way. बहुत सुंदर है. But the moment there is a comparison that I am better than you, the ahankar will come inside. Yeah, maybe my path is this path. This is my tattva, this is Guru Parampara. Fine. But Bhagwan Krishna kya kehte? What? We forget this, right? How Brahmacharya can happen? Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evacha. Simple verse, chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga. Your basics of spirituality, if they are not in the mind, then even these paths in the sampradayas will become fanaticism, it will become sectarianism, it will become groupism, it will become guru worship, with a lot of kind of boundaries. And what that will do, that will prevent Jivan Mukta Sthiti. The organizations that are set up for Jivan Mukta Sthiti, that becomes a block itself. And that block will then damage the sex energy, or Brahmacharya Siddha ho hi nahi sakta. You see how strange this is? Blockages kitne aate hai? I won't give the names of anybody. I have met thousands of people in the last 30, 40 years. And they're only interested in just promoting their group. They're not interested in spirituality as such. To find a way to make bridges with everybody. To remove that sense of superiority. That my guru is better, my path is better, my this is better than yours. Everyone thinks they're the topmost. Go to churches, go to temples, go to sampradayas. Everyone thinks they're the highest beyond everybody. Kitni murkhta hai ye? Ye ki adhyatma nahi hai. This is the destruction of adhyatma. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Trunadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. One who is humbler than a blade of grass. Blade of grass! Forget about the people's... my God, we don't realize how this ahankar works. And then these same people that are so-called spiritual religious, on the other side, what they're doing behind closed doors. We don't want to take anybody's fault, but it's satya baat hai. This is the reality of life. It is the reality. There is reality, and then there is this superficial facade. They're two different things. And that is not Brahmacharya. That is not Jivan Mukta Sthiti. That is not real bhakti. But one has to be careful. Sachin here particularly has to be very, very careful talking, because I have to watch out. The ahankar can come inside and say, I'm something because I have this understanding. No. Always. Love for all. Compassion for all. Tolerance for all. Try to understand each other. Brahmacharya is such an amazing concept. Why Vivekananda Swami became Vivekananda Swami? I'm just using him as an example. There's others also. You know why that is? There are three major reasons. One is his absolute recognition and adoption of the spirituality of Ramakrishna Paramahans. This is point number one. Point number two, universality. There's no sense of I and mine, groupism. उन्होंने totally destroy कर दिया ये. Point number two. Point number three. He showed all different paths. Not one superior to another. Who can do that? कितनी विशाल दृष्टि to try to show the unification that we are all one. Vasudev Kutumbakam. And on that basis, loving all, respecting all paths, not bashing somebody else. कुछ अनुभव नहीं है and बड़ी बड़ी बात चल रही है. That doesn't work. People debate, a lot of debates are there about so many things. Some people are just interested in debating. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं. Brahmacharya begins absolutely with Adveshta Sarvabhutanam. Brahmacharya siddh ho hi nahi sakta without this quality. That do not have negative thinking or sense of superiority with anybody. The moment that comes, that ahankar will come and it will thrash the sadhak back into bhog and destroy Brahmacharya. कभी भी नहीं. किसी के साथ नहीं. And there are those who are advanced on this, who have the proper understanding. Beautiful. There are those who are deficient. May God bless them. It's not easy. Real sages, real gurus, they may be part of different groups and sampradayas and all that, but they are trying to awaken the Jivatma into Brahman, into realization. Everyone has their perspective, their points, their higher Tattvagnan is always there. There's always that kind of interesting difference. I mean, isn't there a difference between the physics department at Harvard University versus the physics at the community college? Of course there is. That doesn't mean the physics at the Harvard University is different from the physics at the community college. It doesn't mean that. It just means it's more evolved. It's at a deeper level. That doesn't mean that it's more superior to the others. Just because something is more evolved, the same subject is more evolved. It's like saying calculus is superior to trigonometry. It is not a superiority. It is a further development of mathematics. It is not a contradiction that there's no me versus this. It's ridiculous. And this is what has happened in Adhyatma. This sense of superiority. We are better. We know more. We are something better than somebody else. Everybody is in that kind of thinking, rather than trying to understand what Ramakrishna Paramahansa taught, that truth is one. What the Vedas taught, what the Vedanta teaches. Ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti, satya ek hai. The awakening of Shakti from inside is the common denominator. You can do it as a Christian, you can do it as a Jewish, you can do it as an Islamist, you can do it in any which way. You can do it in any which way. Absolutely. And that is the glory of Sanatana Dharma. So Shakti is the ball game. Shukra Shakti here. Shukra Shakti is the vital reproductive energy. And if it is sublimated, it can lead to extraordinary awakening of the intelligence. It can lead to courage, conviction, not ahankar, and spiritual illumination. Divya tej, Brahma tej ka darshan hota hai isme se. So in his synthesis of yoga and modern psychology, Vivekananda Swami interpreted Urdhvareta as the upward movement of the conserved energy through the Shushmana Nadi, culminating in the awakening of Kundalini Shakti. That is a latent spiritual energy, that is Kundalini. Shushmana Nadi is the central energy channel. This he taught is the physiological mechanism behind all forms of creativity, whether intellectual, artistic, or mystical. Creativity, the ability to create new perspectives, new visions, the ability to handle all of the limitations of the sansar. Because he had to do that. He had to meet with Christians, and he had to meet with Jewish people. He had to meet with all the different sampradayas in India. He had to deal with all kinds of diversity. And to not have raga, dvesha, aham, mamatva, love for all, and at the same time extract the thread of spirituality, or show the thread of the common thread of that same satyam running through all places, in all times, in all traditions. How can that be possible? He was able to do that because of this conserved Shakti. That conserved Shakti is Krupa of Devi. Brahmacharini, that's the second form in the Navdurga form. We talked about it during Navratri. That is why he was able to do this. Thus, Brahmacharya became, in Vivekananda Swami's teachings, the scientific foundation of genius and character. Our character is better. We start to see, heterosexual men start to see women in a divine light, as a mata, as a goddess, as a devi, as a great power, not as just like a bhog drishti. Farak drishti mein change, transformation from inside. It's not an easy thing, folks. Not easy, meaning it's next to impossible unless one has been tuned into the Brahmic state. And Vachanamrut, Garada Madhya number 30 Vachanamrut, explains this fantastically, beautifully. There's criteria for how to get established in Urdhvareta Naishtik Brahmacharya throughout Vachanamrutam. ये महाराज की बहुत दया से, कृपा से, और the discussions he had with his devotees and paramahansas 240 years back. Those are Vachanamrut. 273 Vachanamrut are there, spanning a 10-year period. And this discussion about Brahmacharya is extensive. But the path, remember, there's two paths. There's the householder path and there's the renunciate path. But even the householder eventually has to come to the renunciate path by going through. That's the beauty of this. And one of the points written in Vachanamrut, that this type of Brahmacharya, it is possible to be established in it by the extraordinary glory and love for God. Now there's your connection, there's our connection between Prema Bhakti and this core Shakti. It's called Mahima. In Gujarati we say Bhagwanu Sukh. The Sukham, the Ananda that comes in Bhakti, the rasas that the Vaishnavas talk about. Amazing discussions, Bhakti Rasamrut Sindhu, that the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, amazing Parampara, has this understanding in there about these rasas. So if we want that higher rasa of bhakti, of prema, of divinity, then this lower rasa, that eventually has to be turned back to Paramatma. Yes. इसमें बहुत शांति है. There's so much steadiness and the link. The Shakti, the sex energy, becomes a link for Akhanda Bhakti, unbroken Bhakti. Who has that? Who wants that? If we want, and Sachin is only speaking for Sachin, not for anybody else. We don't have Sachin, no right to tell anybody anything. This is just sharing the knowledge. That's all. Sharing this understanding. If Sachin really, truly wants unbroken Tel Dhara Vritti, we talked about it before. Vachanamrut Garada 1, which is the essence of all the scriptures. Really want that? Make life that way? Maha Ananda hai isme. Our seva continues, activity continues. But the senses are not pulled in hundreds of directions. The pulling and tugging that continuously goes on in this world, it settles down, it stops. Yes, Sarangpur number 1 Vachanamrut. Amazing. Jitam jagat kena manohi yena. There's a question, right, asked by Muktanand Swami to Shriji Maharaj. वो प्रश्न पूछते from Mani Ratnamala scripture written by Adi Shankaracharya. I want to cover that at some point. There are 175 questions and answers. 175 questions, and each one of those questions has an answer. And one of those questions is, Jitam Jagat Kena. Who is it that has won the world? What is this world? The outside world? Inner world? The mental world? It's the one's mental world, one's inner world. If you win that inner world, you win the game of life. Jitam Jagat Kena Manohi Yena. The answer is Manohi Yena. Manohi Yena means that one who has completely understood and has overcome the limitations of the mind. One who has done that is able to transcend the vortex of bhog versus tyag. The continuum of bhog and tyag. When you go beyond both of them, that is vairagya. And that vairagya is a key state for unbroken Brahmacharya. It is part of unbroken Brahmacharya. And that unbroken Brahmacharya allows for the evolution of Prema Bhakti. And that Prema Bhakti then opens up Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta ka sthiti kya adbhut sthiti hai. Who doesn't want, it surprises me sometimes. Why wouldn't you want this? Anybody, I don't know who's going to listen. It's a divine will. Sachin doesn't know. Some few people are online and all that. It's fine. That is grace, big krupa. Whoever listens, Sachin's only prarthana is, why wouldn't you want this? Why wouldn't a person want to be a Jivan Mukta? Jivan Mukta bano. किसी के साथ अहम भाव राग द्वेष जो भी परंपरा में हम हैं उसका आदर कीजिए. Go in that. बड़े बड़े जो संत, any great saint in any parampara, they're not there for groupism. They're not there for sectarianism. They're not there for creating divisiveness with others. That's ridiculous. That if that is going on there, that is not a real guru. Sorry, that cannot be a real. Impossible. How can that be? That's not the reality. And the big saints, yeah, they have their interpretations. They have their. Everybody does. Shankaracharya ji has, from Shankaracharya ji onward. Everybody has. But that doesn't mean that there's a divisiveness. I've given this example before, and see, Vivekananda Swami I would think he would agree with this, absolutely. His writings show this, that come together. See, people don't even talk to each other. It really is so surprising. Now, it's not surprising perhaps, but Bhagwan ko prarthna heart mein se kar rahe ki people talk to each other for God's sake. This fanaticism, it won't work. Try to understand another's perspective. We don't want to do that. Something, we may have, whatever we may have is something extraordinary. We don't want to understand another's perspective. And by not understanding that, we cannot love that person. And by not loving the person, how can we find God? And then, because that understanding is not there, mind cannot grow. And if the mind doesn't grow, as this creativity we're looking at, higher development, systematically higher development, then how there can be the discovery of the non-dual Atman? How that is possible? It is a discovery. It is realization that the other person and me and this person is the same Brahman in both, as both. कोई भेद नहीं है. समोहम सर्वभूतेषु नमे द्वेषोस्ति न प्रियः ये भजन्ति तु माम भक्त्या मयि तेषु चाप्यहम. Bhagavan Krishna says, I am equally present in all. But those who are devoted to me, connected to me, they can realize that tattva. This is the glory of Urdhvareta Brahmacharya. It's an amazing thing. Another great Brahmacharya was Aurobindu. We'll maybe talk. I would like to spend the rest of the year on this subject, but because of time, I want to move on into Ashtang Brahmacharya further. But thoda karenge. Mahatma Gandhi is another one. Brahmacharya as truth in action. And then there's the scientific and psychological correlates of Brahmacharya. I would like to cover all this, tell you the truth. The ethical and creative relevance in the modern world. Kya baat hai ye sab? Amrut. It is just Amrutam, filled with Amrutam. Bhagwan ki bahut krupa hai. Aap sabki daya hai, krupa hai. People who are coming online every day. It's such a tremendous blessing. I don't even have the words. You have taken so much time to listen to all these tremendous ideas with your heart, with your blessings and all. And on that basis, we can serve humanity. We can encourage each other to continue this journey forward into the liberated state. With that prarthana, let's stop here for now. Om Vakaratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा ध्यानमूलं गुरोर्मूर्ति मंत्रमूलं गुरोर्वाक्यं पूजामूलं गुरोर्पदं मोक्षमूलं गुरोर्कृपा तमेव माता च पिता तमेव बन्धुश्च सखा तमेव विद्या द्रविणं तमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव। ओम नमो नारायणाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम दुर्गे दुर्गे रक्षिणी ठ ठ स्वाहा, श्री दुर्गार्पणमस्तु। ओम ह्रीं स्वाहा, श्री राधा कृष्णार्पणमस्तु।